A billionaire friend of mine, who's a legitimate billionaire, told me that it's entirely possible that some of these guys are trillionaires. Some of these Middle Eastern guys. He's like, you've never seen wealth like this. It's insane. Do you know in the United Arab Emirates, they make it rain every week? Once a week, they make it rain.
I mean,
they seed the clouds.
Really?
And make it rain. Yeah, because they're in the desert. And they're like, I don't like this. I like it to rain. So they fucking put all that shit that they have to put into the sky to make it rain, which they've been doing forever, cloud seeding, but insanely expensive. But they do it once a week.
So
52 times a year.
Force is on record as saying, quote, they want to control the weather by 2025. And we are not talking about just seeding the clouds for rain. Of April this year, there are more than 150 different weather modification programs around the world. Since about 2000, the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy have been spraying the entire United States sky with the toxic brew of chemicals and other biologic agents. Military and some commercial jets have been fitted with huge barrels of at least 49 different kinds of documented chemical poisons. Among other documented ingredients in this toxic man-made clouds are pathogenic molds, fungi, weaponized viruses, and made in some places like the secret site at Fort Detrick, Maryland, which is supposed to be a cancer site. But there are a number of scholars and professors tracking this that have big questions about this. Barium and nanoalumin particles. What do these do to the human body? Barium is an alkaline earth mineral. It was discovered in 1774. At low doses, it can act as a muscle stimulant. At high doses, it detrimentally affects the heart and the nervous system. Barium is toxic to all mammals, and that means not just humans. Aluminum, which is the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust, is known to diminish kidney function and destroy brain cells and cognitive function. Just think about it. Just between the aluminum and the mercury that we're breathing all the time, we've got already a serious issue about brain function and cognitive function.
Can we engineer the weather? Cloud seeding is a form of weather modification that can produce what we want more or less of. More rain or snow, or even smaller hail pellets. China is building the world's largest weather modification system to artificially enhance rain that will cover an area of over 2.1 million square miles by 2025. Today, at least 52 countries across the globe are using some sort of weather modification program. While it may sound too good to be true, the technology has been around for more than 75 years. Clouds are made up of tiny water droplets. Groups of droplets form water vapor, or ice crystals. By itself, this water vapor isn't dense enough to fall to the ground as precipitation. Instead, it rises until it becomes supercooled and condenses around tiny particles of dust in the sky, called condensation nuclei. It takes billions of these condensed water droplets to form a visible cloud. In cloud seeding, a seeding agent is used as the condensation nuclei. Typical seeding agents are chemicals such as silver iodide, potassium iodide, or solid carbon dioxide. These are shot into clouds by rockets or sprayed into clouds using drones or aircraft. Unattached supercooled water vapor molecules in the clouds condense around these particles. The condensed water vapor droplets then group together, becoming larger and heavier. This process continues until the droplets are large enough to fall as rain. Recently, the UAE created artificial rain using drones. These drones targeted certain clouds with electrical discharges through concentrated lasers to force water droplets to pool in the air, triggering the desired rainfall. Today, the largest cloud seeding system in the world is found in China. China creates 55 billion tons of artificial rain a year. Other countries are also looking to ramp up cloud seeding efforts in the hope of
So in my last video where I talked about the formation of the bomb cyclone that hit California, I got a ton of comments like this speculating that the cyclone was a result of weather modification from the government. There are also a lot of people that replied to these comments calling these people stupid despite the fact that cloud seeding actually is real. So what is cloud seeding, how does it work, and could it create megastorms like mid-latitude cyclones or hurricanes? Before we jump into that, let's take a look at how clouds form naturally. Liquid water turns into water vapor when it's heated by the sun. This rises into the atmosphere. When the temperature cools or the atmospheric pressure drops, the air can no longer hold all of this water vapor and it condenses to water. This condensation happens on tiny little particles that are floating in the air called cloud nuclei, which are usually things like dust or ash. When these water droplets or ice crystals accumulate, they become a cloud. Cloud seeding uses the idea of cloud nuclei to try and encourage pre-existing clouds to create precipitation. This is done by introducing particles into the system which could act as cloud nuclei. Usually this is silver iodide or dry ice. This can be done either using generators on the ground or airplanes. Research on cloud seeding has actually been done since the 1940s, but its efficacy has always been the subject of debate. This is partly because it's really hard to set up weather experiments where you can prove that something that you manipulated actually made a difference. Because weather is constantly changing and you may never have the exact same set of conditions twice to compare where you manipulated something versus a time where you didn't. However, more recent advances in radar technology have given us the capability to better monitor these experiments, and that's exactly what the SNOWY project in 2017 in Idaho did. The researchers had to wait for the right conditions, cold and cloudy but with no snow falling. They then used a plane to release controlled amounts of silver iodide over the mountains. Using this state-of-the-art radar equipment, they were able to watch the clouds develop and then begin to snow. Currently, 9 Western states and 10 different countries have active cloud seeding programs. The Western states are focused on trying to increase precipitation so that it can be stored in the snowpack or in reservoirs to alleviate drought conditions. So could cloud seeding create massive 300-mile-wide storms like mid-latitude cyclones or hurricanes? There have actually been several government-sponsored programs like Project Cirrus or Project Storm Fury that have looked at if cloud seeding could actually weaken hurricanes. The idea being that cloud seeding could reshape the eye of the hurricane, which would decrease wind speeds before the hurricane hits land and people. However, these experiments were discontinued in 1983 because they were expensive and the results were inconclusive. Today, it's estimated that cloud seeding produces 5 to 15% more precipitation in areas where it does occur, which is useful for storing water but not anywhere near the scale needed to produce a hurricane. For reference, in the SNOWY experiment, researchers estimated that 286 Olympic swimming pools worth of snow was produced over 3 days. In contrast, Hurricane Harvey, which is the Category 4 storm that hit Texas and Louisiana in 2017, is estimated to have dumped over 15 million Olympic swimming pools worth of rain.
Scientists secretly conducted a solar geoengineering cloud brightening experiment in San Francisco earlier this month. The experiment artificially brightened existing clouds by using a machine to shoot microscopic salt aerosol particles hundreds of feet into the air. As reported by the Smithsonian in the New York Times, scientists from the University of Washington's Marine Cloud Brightening Program used a decommissioned aircraft carrier in Alameda. The scientists intentionally kept the experiment a secret in hopes of stopping public backlash. This is the first publicly disclosed cloud brightening experiment ever conducted in North America and only the second to be done in the world. The goal of climate and solar geoengineering is to increase the Earth's albedo, which will reflect more sunlight back into space. David Santillo, a senior scientist who is not part of the experiment, told the New York Times that these engineering projects are concerning because you could change climatic patterns not just over the sea, but over the land as well. Other environmental and marine scientists also raised caution that solar geoengineering can impact wind patterns and drive unexpected weather, which could have unforeseen impacts on fish populations and the overall climate. As I touched on in my video last year, Mexico banned solar geoengineering after an American startup ran unapproved data collection trials in their airfields. Comment what you think about this project and solar geoengineering as a whole.
Quick cloud update from California. What looks like mountains up ahead of me is actually some dark clouds. And there's one up here. And these are not normal. How's the weather?
We're here in Santa Barbara County, home to one of the longest running cloud seeding operations in the country. We've got some ground-based cloud seeding equipment right here, and we're gonna get to hear all about how it works and see it in action. Let's check it out. Cloud seeding is the most common type of weather modification, and it has many different techniques and applications. Today, it's mostly used to increase rain and snowfall, reduce the size of hail, and reduce fog at airports.
Traditionally, cloud seeding has been done from the air. So airplanes have had racks on them where these same flares are positioned on the airplane and the airplane flies into the storm. So in order to reduce the cost to the client and reduce our carbon footprint, we've been able to station these on the ground. Now we can do this in places where weather permits.
Behind a barbed wire fence designed to keep away curious cattle, the cloud seeding gear awaits the right kind of weather.
So these are referred to as AHOGs. That stands for Automated High Output Ground Seeding Systems. We've got three primary components of our equipment here. The first is the control module that you see behind me. Then we have our actual cloud seeding flares. The cameras for security. It also helps us observe weather conditions in real time and make sure that all of the equipment is operating correctly during a storm. Inside these canisters are the flares with the seeding agents. The canisters are used as spark arresters, so they prevent sparks from reaching the ground. So if we pull off the spark arrestor, you can see the flare inside. The ignition of the flares are controlled from the control module that's behind us. So the white triangle there is a cell service modem, and then the solar panel keeps us powered. Inside we have a battery and then a control board. So the control board interacts with the software. We're linked or synced with the software in Utah currently, and that allows us to fire or ignite any of the flares from that remote location.
Because of the lack of clouds and proper wind conditions, today is not a good day for cloud seeding at all. But Garrett and his team are going to light a flare for us anyway, so we can show you how it works. There's just one small problem. The battery in the control module died shortly before we arrived, but it's nothing a little jump start can't fix. After a little juice from Garrett's truck, it's time to set off the flare.
The primary seeding agent in this is silver iodide. Silver iodide is a simple compound. It's polar in nature like water, so there's chemical properties that help attract water molecules to silver iodide. It's also structured molecularly similar to ice. So it helps generate or helps spawn the generation of ice buildup, and then that becomes a hailstone or a snowflake that falls here primarily as rain. So one flare like this has billions and billions of potential sites for that water to congregate around. We'll launch them in sequences. We watch the radar to see when bands of the highest concentration of liquid water are passing above us in the clouds, and we try to target those high concentration pockets in the storm systems. We'll launch between 3 and 20 flares for a typical storm. Once the flare is lit, it takes a little bit of time to carry up into the clouds, and once it's up at the proper elevation, it'll take about 20 minutes to instigate the rain or the snow process. So overall, you're probably looking at about 40 to 45 minutes before you're seeing the maximum result. And that's why we're stationed miles away from our target area. So we have very specific targets that drain directly into major water basins, and we time these events to correlate with rain above those intended targets. One of the biggest questions or most common questions that we receive relates to the safety of silver iodide. Silver is biologically inert, so it will not interact in a negative fashion with plant or animal life. Iodine is actually a critical building block of a number of hormones in animals, so it is safe as well. In fact, if you look at table salt or baby formula, you'll see iodine in its molecular form as an additive in those commonly consumed substances.
But what about other potential adverse effects? Could cloud seeding affect communities outside the targeted areas?
Sometimes there is a concern about robbing Peter to pay Paul. So are we benefiting California at the expense of Nevada? And the truth is that storm systems, when they move over off the coastline, only about 10% of that moisture is going to fall in the form of precip. And we're looking at increasing that to about 11% because we have about a 10% increase in the natural storm's productivity. So going from 10% to 11% in California has an insignificant impact on the amount of precip that will still be available in Nevada or Utah.
Built into the program are kind of checks to make sure that we don't come across anything negative. When there are high intensity storms, we won't seed. If the reservoirs are full, we won't seed. If the rivers are flowing a lot, maybe near flood capacity, we won't seed.
We hope that the conditions that exist right now will turn around and that we will not face the severity of droughts that we're facing, particularly this year. But a number of scientific articles are suggesting otherwise. And as we look into the future, we need to again consider conservation first. So the ability for us is to conserve how we use water and the ways that we store the water. and then layer on that efforts like weather modification and cloud seeding to help increase the rainfall that we do receive. It's very important that we take advantage of every opportunity we have to generate water in a sustainable way.
Anybody who's interested in learning more about cloud seeding, I've got links to scientific studies and official reports down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more. If you want to see more What the Future episodes, check out this playlist right here. Hope this video seeded your imagination. Conserve water. See you next time.
In 1986, a mysterious cloud emerged from this African lake, and because it was heavier than air, it ended up descending on a nearby village. The people and animals of this village started to go unconscious, and thousands ended up losing their lives. So what happened? Well, this mysterious cloud contained 300,000 tons of carbon dioxide, and to this day, geologists still don't know what triggered its release. That was a scary rain, but nowadays many places on Earth need rain. Well, one of them is the UAE. There is not enough rain, and humans there need rain. The weather is very dry, which means in the winter weather is really nice. But it also means there is very little rain and humans need rain. And they decided to make it rain. Here is how they do it. They monitor all the skies in the country in real time and look for tiny clouds. The minute they find a small cloud, they get excited because it has rain inside of them. Operational Research War. So they get a plane and a pilot and they put 48 kilograms of a special type of salt inside that plane. Why? Because salt attracts water. These salt molecules attract water particles and make clouds heavier and heavier until they reach. So these tiny planes go up to the skies. It drops salt right under the clouds. They release this salt on top of mountains to generate more rain. It's called cloud seeding, but here is the truth. Despite all of this, we still cannot control the rain 100%. We cannot control where the cloud will go or where it will rain. But everybody is trying. Just think about this for a second. If humans need to send planes to the skies to make water, let us save water.
Was Dubai's apocalyptic storm self-inflicted? The Middle Eastern city saw 18 months of rain in one day, and there are suspicions it could be due to cloud seeding. The United Arab Emirates has used the controversial technique to meddle with Mother Nature, sending aircraft equipped with salt flares into the clouds to induce rainfall for the desert country. Although officials say cloud seeding was not done ahead of the torrential downpour, it is estimated that the UAE flies around 1,000 hours of seeding flights every year.
So when it rains in Dubai, it makes bubbles. I don't know if it's called cloud seeding, but those are bubbles. I've never seen this in my life. Can someone explain?
You guys tell me what you think about this. Can you see those sunflowers? Sunflowers have a thing called heliotropism. They face the sun and curve their face towards the sun every day, all day, every hour, to absorb the sun. Can you see there? Yeah, they got their face turned away from the sun here. Now, if you look up over through there, you can see the beans and the corn and all that kind of stuff. And they don't have much choice. It's either grow straight up or fall down. But these sunflowers have a completely different mechanism. And for some reason, they don't like the sun. Now, I don't know what's causing that, but I'm inclined to say that the very people that took down my videos also might be responsible for this. I don't know that to be the truth, and I have no one to point a finger at. But I do know that these sunflowers are not facing the right direction.